Hi, everyone. This is Claire. Thanks for being here on, what are we today? I lose track because we're not in school session anymore. What are we today? Wednesday. Wednesday, how are you guys feeling? We have a chat. Thank you for putting Tiap, I think it was Tiapa. Thank you. So we're gonna start the webinar in about a minute. I'm just waiting to see if we have more friends who want to join. We have 53 people on a Wednesday. This is amazing. Wow, I'm so impressed, guys. So first of all, let's talk about what's going on right now. How are you guys feeling? Is anybody in, kind of at a moment where you're like, what's going on with my life? So we have Jamie saying, I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you so much for being encouraging and, getting others to feel okay about the situation. You have Jalen, you have Kenya, we have Ariana, we have Amanda. We have so many people today joining us for the live webinar. Today is about local anesthesia. It is about calculation. The reason I thought about doing this is because a lot of you are taking the local anesthesia exam and or you were scheduled but you are rescheduled, right? So anybody here who have their boards rescheduled right now? I know I have probably 200 emails, 300 emails right now, and I need to take care of that soon. Okay, yeah. So we have also possibly a lot of you are saying yes. We have Kimmy, we have Ifo, we have Zola, Naliji, Jessica, okay, Paulina, okay, Junia, till May, okay. So I want to ask you guys, is anybody have their local anesthesia exam rescheduled? Did they give you a specific date of when you can come get your examination? No, Paulina said Julia, Kate, okay. Art saying I got May 12, okay. Jessica said late April, early May. So, in general, I don't think they exactly really figure out how this is going to run. So they probably have not given you a new date, even if you had if you had a cancellation. So I think we just really have to be patient, and I'm so sorry this is happening to you right now because I think a lot of you were about to graduate, right? Probably around May 9, May 19, 13, whatever that is, right? Yep. Okay, guys. Let's just stay positive. I mean, you will graduate, okay? There's no way the world will not let you graduate. There's no way. We'll figure out a way. In the meantime, we just try to study. Now, besides studying, I'm just curious, guys. What else are you doing? Because a lot of schools have reduced hours, right? Reduced learning hours. It's not like they're going from like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., right? Okay, so Julia saying stressing, okay. Maria saying keep studying. We have sleeping. Okay, that's a good thing, though. That's a good thing. I can't, be upset about sleeping, right? What about some other friends? What are you saying? Online assignment for class. We're studying for the NBDHE. Watching TV. We have working out as well. Okay, that's good. What about Netflix? Anybody is binging on Netflix right now? Because even I am. Okay, so exercising is really, really good. Netflix is a good one. Disney Plus, okay. Oh my God. Did you guys ever think we would be in this era of being affected by a virus? I never thought in my life that it would be like that. Yeah, especially when you're just about to graduate. Anybody here first year student? Because if you're a first year, it's okay. Things will be okay. But as you said, Jolene, I did not think this would get this deep, and I agree with you. Okay, I don't know what to say, but I hope we get out of this today. So now that said, can I ask all of you please to mute your microphone? So there are a few of you, I think, who have the microphone on, which is Michelle, I think, There is a few other students. So if you see your microphone setting, which should be at the bottom left, it should say mute. If you can do that, please mute yourself so that we can have a clearer audio for everybody.
I can't tell.
All right, I think I heard someone talking, but if you can mute yourself, that would be really lovely for all of us. And I'm not calling you out. It's just a system. It's supposed to be muted for all of you, but you know, we have to work with this online world. Sometimes it's not perfect. So please let me know if you want to participate as well. You can raise your hand. I know you have done so. We had a student who raised their hand, and I can unmute you then in that case and being able to invite you in the conversation, okay? But let's leave that until the end. If that's okay with you, we're gonna start. So my name is Claire, and I'm the founder of StudentRDH. I don't know if you have seen my face before. However, I just work very privately behind the scenes with our team. And, I just wanted to share as much as I can with you in this difficult time so you can be ready when like it opens up. You can just run to the examination center. You can be there. You can just pass the boards and be done, okay? So my hope today is that we can do some calculations together. Now I've put this PowerPoint presentation together for you. We're just going to talk about calculations, nothing else, because, we have 1 hour. I'm very thankful for all of you. We have 77 students here on a Wednesday evening. It's 6 p.m. East Coast time, 3 p.m. West Coast time. Are you guys ready? If you are ready, you can say yes on the chat and I will know that I can start. Perfect. Okay, so how many of you are struggling with calculations with, local anesthesia? You can put that on the chat. I just want to have a general understanding. Okay, me. All right, good to know because we're going to overcome that today. And also I want to share with you that it's, the board, I'm going to be very, very, very honest. It doesn't ask a whole lot of calculation, but this is really important to understand just in case you have calculation, because you still will have something, okay? You will still have something. I can promise you, you will still have at least, some calculation in the boards. And also I want to tell you that the concepts are really important here because that thread through the entire course of local anesthesia. Now, I'm going to start my presentation. You would let me know if you see it or not, okay? Do you guys see this right now? Okay, we have some chats coming. Let me quickly catch up with that. Okay, perfect. And you can see how the chat is coming to me. So I will keep an eye here. I'm going to put it on my little corner. I'm going to give us a little corner over here and I will start my presentation. And guys, if we can leave the questions to the end, that would be really, really helpful, okay? Otherwise, you put it on the chat. I'll kind of make a quick mental note and then we'll be able to answer that. So 1 hour, let's go. Okay, so calculations. Oh, what do you mean? This is not what I wanted to do. Use a slideshow. Yes, please. Okay. So local anesthesia calculation, what you will see here is pretty complicated because there's a lot of calculations that we can do with the board examination, with what we learned in dental hygiene. But I promise this is going to be useful wherever you go because even when you practice, you have to constantly think about that. So this is StudentRDH. I don't know if many of you have actually the board's review. You can let me know if you don't have it. That's okay, guys. You can say, yes, I have it. Yes, I don't have it. I'm not here to tell you to get it. I'm not here to sell you this. I'm just, trying to give you some quality information. Jamie, thanks for saying I have it and I love it. So I'm not here again to sell you any of this course. This is just what we have as StudentRDH, just in case you need it later for your board examination. We have awesome reviews as well. I would say it's like 100% pass rate for this. some of you only have StudentRDH for the NBDHE or NDHCB. Thank you so much for saying that you love it. And local anesthesia, if you know the system is set up very similarly, and you will be able to find things that are really just relevant to you with, some sections, so it's organized. That said, I want to start talking about local anesthesia now. Local anesthesia, if you have a cartridge, and I don't have it in my hand right now, but it's not just local anesthesia. Have you ever thought about what's in the local anesthetic? It's kind of like juice or, something else. You just have to understand that there are multiple things going on inside that. You have some, kind of the regular liquid, which is the water-based solution. You also have some other things such as the vasoconstrictor. You also have the main ingredient, well, not the main, well, it is the main active ingredient, which is the actual local anesthetic. And what else you have? You have a preservative. Sorry, I just can't find the right thing to have right now for us. I don't know if this would be more helpful. Okay. So let's stick with this. And then what else we have? We have reducing agent. That means it's kind of a preservative as well. And that's called the sodium metasulfite or sodium bisulfite. And what we also have is a buffer because it needs to stabilize the pH. The pH can vary a lot, so they put this buffer. So again, what I'm trying to get to here is not really memorize all of this, but telling you that local anesthetic, the lidocaine, the prilocaine is just one component of the cartridge. There's something called epinephrine or levonorepinephrine that's in there that's also part of the mix. So, I have a picture of a very pixelated pizza on my right side. I'm telling you today when I was, revising my presentation for you guys, I was just craving pizza by just looking at this. Now, the reason I bring a pizza to this message here is just trying to tell you again that, there's like the water base, which is more like the dough, the crust, the base. And then on top of that, like the cheese, I think, or the tomato sauce is more like the not the vasoconstrictor, the local anesthetic, the prilocaine, the lidocaine. That's like really makes a pizza, right? If it was just dough and mushroom, that's not a pizza. You need tomato sauce and you need cheese, that makes a pizza. So I'm trying to tell you that. And then the vasoconstrictor, it's a very small component of the local anesthetics, but I would say it's more like the pepperoni, So I'm trying to come up with like examples or analogies so you can understand this concept a little better. And during this time, guys, I'm going to keep swinging my hand or kind of use this because there's an automatic light detector. And if I don't keep moving, it kind of shuts off on me automatically. So let me continue here. So we understand the concept of the pizza. I know it's a little weird. I don't know if anybody told you that local anesthetic was like a pizza, but it's like in the cartridge, you have many different things. That's what I wanted to tell you. Okay. All right. So let's continue. How much did you inject? How would you do that calculation, right? Let's say you had some cartridges and you injected some lidocaine. And by the way, you can tell me in the chat right now what kind of local anesthetic you use the most in your patient. Is that lidocaine, prilocaine, articaine? You can put it, most of you are saying lidocaine right now. Megan K, thanks for participating. Artie, Morgan, oh, Artie, it's a little less usual. Jamie, septocaine, okay, lidocaine. Lidocaine, mepivacaine. Okay, so we have usually a lot of lidocaine and some other things as well. Now let me just continue over here with how much did you inject? How would you do calculation, right? So there it is. So let's talk about our pizza and our local anesthetic. So our local anesthetic would say, let's say 5%, 2%, 3%, right? So let's dissect what that means. What is a percentage? I mean, it's such a, it's a concept, right? What's the concentration of that specific thing? And I want to just show you over here that the percentage indicates the gram of drug per 100 milliliter of solution. The key here is per 100. So as you can see, if you say something is like 2% lidocaine, that means it's 2 grams in 100 milliliter. 3% means 3 gram in 100 milliliter. How would you know that? Okay, here comes wake up memory, because you guys all know that I do what's called wake up memory technique, right? I'm a memory champion here. I'm trying to draw my logo. And I teach everybody how to memorize things better. And here we go in wake up memory. I'm going to help you how to memorize this concept. So 2%, okay, so I'm just going to get the 2 and it's gram, okay, 2% gram. And if you can see here, dot, dot, okay, you can 0, 0. So 0, 0, that's what, 100. All I'm trying to get to is like when you say percentage, don't be confused. It's not per milliliter, it's per 100 milliliter. This is what I want you to understand. So we dissected right now what it means to have 2%, 5% certain local anesthetic. Now let me go back to the pizza. The reason why I have a pizza is because, you know, it could be, let's say your recipe say, you need to put 2% of the pizza will be basil. Basically, that's what this cartridge is telling you. There's 2% lidocaine in here, 2% basil on your pizza. Now, that's okay, but really, what does 2% basil means? How many pieces of basil do you need in order to make it 2% of the entire pizza? So that's what we are actually going to find out. What does 2% mean? How many milligrams? How much did I even inject my patient? In this case, how many basil do we even need to make 2%? Do you guys follow me so far? I know nobody talks about like food analogy when it comes to local anesthetics, but I just want to give you an example of like how each component can be translated something in, you know, how we cook. So you can kind of have a little bit of a understanding of not just like vague or local anesthetic. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is give you an analogy. I know it's weird, but please continue with me. So here, I want to just show you that, look, we just said that let's say 2% is 2 gram per 100 milliliter. Now, the problem though, okay, there's a problem. You know what the problem is? This is in gram and this is in milliliter. The problem is those do not match. It's like apple and oranges. They do not belong together, okay? They're two different things. So we need to unify this. How? By saying, well, if it's a milliliter, you're gonna be forced to think in milligrams, okay? So the first step in trying to understand how to calculate this, make sure that all of your conversions are done. They are all in the same page, all aligned, okay? So don't do apple oranges saying compare apple to apple. So the first step here is that you have, let's say 1 gram, that's 1,000 milligram. Okay, you know that, right? Okay, let's do an example with 2% over here. So you have 2%, that means 2 gram per 100 millimeter. That 2 gram translates to 2,000 milligram. Do you guys follow me so far? You can please put a yes here in the chat so I understand if you are following me so far. Thank you so much. Okay, if not, I will slow down, guys. Thank you for being awesome. Okay, I have some strong yes here. You follow me, right? Now, we're gonna do some simple math, guys. Don't freak out. You know how to delete the zeros, right? The matching zeros can be deleted. So if you delete those two and those two, you are left with 20 over 1, which is just 20. So that's 20 milligram per milliliter. What that means is that 2% equals, it means that there are 20 milligram per milliliter. Okay, that still doesn't really give us a real sense of how much there is in one cartridge. You know what we have to do now? So I'm going to ask you a question. Your cartridge, your actual cartridge, how many milliliter of liquid is there in that thing? 1.7, 1.8, okay. So thank you for sharing that. So usually it's 1.8, depending on the manufacturer, it could be 1.7. So 1.8. This is easy now because if you think about it, there's 20 milligram per milliliter. Therefore, in 1.8, what do you think you're gonna do? Very, very simple, okay? So If you use 1.8, you're just simplifying here. Let's say 20 milligram. You're gonna multiply 1.8. Guys, this is simple math, okay? I hope we're not gonna break our brains here. 36. Do you guys get me? If you have 1.7 milliliter is 34. You can put a yes in the chat if you understand what I just said. You just had how much you have per milliliter, and now because the cartridge is not 1 milliliter, it's 1.8 or 1.7, you multiply that. Now, Emily said repeat please. Okay, let's go take it from the top. In local anesthetic, they're gonna give you this cartridge, and it's gonna say over there, let's say 2%. 2% what? You know, it's like 2% skim milk. What does that even mean? How many grams of fat or milligrams of fat do we have in that milk, for example? That's what I'm trying to get to. 2% doesn't mean anything to me. So 2% means in this case that it was 2 gram out of, you guys remember when I say percentage, look at the double zero. So I'm going to 200 here, but that's a milliliter. The problem here is that those do not match. Apple and oranges, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform the gram into milligram. Milli is mil. That's like 1,000. So I'm going to say 2,000 here. Milligram. Sorry, I'm drawing with my mouse, so it's really awkward, but here we are getting this done like always. Okay, 100 milliliter. And then I can delete my zeros. You're left with what? It says 20 milligram per milliliter. But your cartridge, is that 1? No, it's 1.8 or 1.7. You're going to multiply 20 by 1.8, 1.7. So I repeated the whole process. Now you know how much local anesthetic there is in your cartridge. If you had 3%, you know, would that be difficult for you? No, just do the same. 3%, that was 3 gram per 100 milliliter, okay? 100 milliliter, that would be 3,000 per 100, and that gives you 30 milligram per milliliter. You get it? And then you multiply. Now, in a cartridge, you have 36 milligram of this lidocaine, for example. You have 54 gram of this mepivacaine. So if you injected your patient 1 cartridge, you would have given that patient 36 milligram or 54 milligram. Basically, that's what we're trying to get at. How much local anesthetic are you providing? If you gave the patient 5 cartridges, you know, you're giving them maybe about 170 milligram. You know, you just need to know that, so you put it in the notes. Let's not just say 3 cartridges as 2%, you know, 1 to 100 lidocaine. That's good. But if we can be more specific, I think our professors would love it. They would be like, how did you come up with this calculation? So anyhow, this is how it works. And guys, if you could memorize that just 0.5% is 9 milligram, you know, that would be really helpful. But the reason I didn't do that today is because our session is only 1 hour and it depends on which cartridge you use. So anyhow, we looked at how much anesthetic there is in 1 cartridge, right? If you use half a cartridge, you just have to divide it by half. Do you guys understand how we came up to this conclusion on how to calculate the local anesthetic inside the cartridge? Thank you, Claudia, April, Christy, Danielle, everybody, Cunis, Julia, for saying yes. Thank you for your participation. Now, this is step 1. We have many, many more steps to go. Now you figure out what does 2% mean. Let's continue our story, okay? Whew. Now, M or D, that's the whole point of doing the calculation. We are not doing the calculation just for fun. We're doing this because we want to understand, are we giving it too much for the patient? Because MRD, which means, you know, there's a limit, you don't want to overdose the patient. Maximum recommended dose. depending on the patient's condition or depending on the local anesthetic, you MRD set. Okay. So there are two types of MRD though. I think when you read the textbook, one of the most frustrating things is like they don't really make it clear that there are two types of MRD. Let me give you an example with the pizza again. Let's see if this works. So when you're making a pizza, you know, there's like a golden rule of like, let's say you put too much mushroom, would that taste good? If you put too many pepperonis on it, would that taste good? You kind of need like a good ratio. So let's say it's pepperoni versus mushroom. If one of those hits the ceiling, you gotta stop it. You gotta stop putting any topping, okay? Or if you say you put pepperoni reach the limit of how much pepperoni you can put, well, even if the mushroom, you didn't put enough mushroom, you gotta stop. All the toppings stop. Does the analogy make sense here? I know it's a little complicated to understand. What I'm trying to just tell you is that there are two types of MRD. One is called the local anesthetic, one is called vasoconstrictor. So I'm going to continue my story with local anesthetic being the mushroom and vasoconstrictor being the pepperoni. Let's see if this is going to work. Okay. I thought about like what kind of analogy I could give you. I thought about color. We can talk about color, but you know, I think pizza is something universal. You could go to any country in the world and give the same analogy. I think people would still understand what you're trying to say. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with local anesthetic or mushroom. How many mushrooms can you give? How many mushrooms can you put on the pizza? Well, first of all, that thing depends on what kind of pizza you're making, meaning what kind of local anesthetic you're using. Are you using lidocaine, articaine, prilocaine, bupivacaine, or bupivacaine? Depending on that, the type or the amount you can provide is different. The amount of mushroom you can give to, you know, let's say like, you know, you call it the Italian pizza versus like, you know, the New York pizza, you know, would be different. I'm making this up, guys, okay? But everything has a set limit. Let's continue our story here. So what's DMRD with local anesthetic? Whew, there's a lot of words, but don't worry, we're gonna make it easy. First of all, when you think about local anesthetic, when you think about a drug, you have to understand how heavy the patient is. Now, we're not going to ask you, well, we could, are you heavier than 150 or are you lighter than 150? It's a little difficult to ask them. However, you can ask them, you know, I just need to know that so that, you know, I just understand how much of local anesthetic I can provide you. So you can be a little bit more polite about that. Now, once you have this, and Karina, thanks for saying medical history. You have to know that for medical history as well. You know, honestly, I never asked them exactly how much do you weigh, but kind of an understanding. So if the patient is heavier than 150 pounds, then what it is that they're recommending set MRD by the manufacturer. When they manufacture that, they tell you, well, this you can only have 500 milligram per appointment. Mepivacaine, you can only have 400 milligram. Prilocaine, you can only have 600. Articaine, they haven't really figured this out. Bupivacaine, you can only have 90 milligram per appointment. That's what you have to understand first. There's a set limit of how much you can give them. Now, you know that we have to memorize this, right? Lidocaine is 500 milligram per appointment. And if we really go back to our calculation here, lidocaine is usually kind of a 2%. So there's about 36 milligram per cartridges. So if their MRD here is 500 milligram, we're going to use this number and divide it by 36. And that would give us how many cartridges we can give them. Because the whole point is that for us, honestly, are we going to keep thinking 36 milligram? Oh, I'm injected 72. Oh, I'm injected, you know, I'm not going to try to do it right now, 124. Anyhow, instead of doing that, we're going to say 1, 2, and 3 cartridges. We count in cartridges, right? So let's make it relevant to us. What does that mean in terms of cartridges? Well, let's leave that because we're going to talk also about being lighter than 150 pounds. Me, I'm a smaller person, right? I definitely do not weigh 150 pounds. So when you're lighter than 150 pounds, what you do is you use the same MRD, but also this one, 3.2 milligram per pound might be something you might be using. The point is that, let's say, you know, I am, well, guys, you guys know exactly how much I weigh because you attended the webinar. I'm 112. Don't repeat that anywhere, okay, guys? Just keep it between us, okay? So I'm 112. I'm going to do the math here using just my phone. 112 multiplied by 3.2, that's 358. So I'm allowed, because I'm a small person, 358 milligram of local anesthetic. Now, which one is bigger or which one is smaller? This one or this one? Is 358 smaller? So Julia is asking, I'm assuming we should have the MRD memorized. Yes, you have to memorize those, okay? Thanks for asking, Julia. So this one is smaller, right? 358. What I'm trying to tell you here is that in this case, when someone is lighter 150 pounds, you're gonna use this calculation. You're gonna multiply their weight by the MRD here by pound, because that's usually a smaller number than the MRD in this case. So use a smaller number. That's the whole point, because my body cannot process as many drugs as a much bigger person would do. I have a smaller liver, I have a smaller body system. That's why. So get the smaller number. Okay. April is asking, I came late because I was still in class. Can you discuss the calculation again, or is it PowerPoint? Can I read it? Okay, what I'm going to do is actually, believe I'm also recording this right now. So I'll try to, you know, provide it to all of you who have attended here, because I know this is difficult. Thank you for asking, April. And coming right after your class, this is amazing. Okay, again, we are thinking about MRD. MRD, I told you there are two types, right? One is local anesthetic and one is epinephrine. The thing about when you learn this at school, generally, they don't really make this clear. They just make you do a bunch of calculation, but we get lost, like what MRD am I calculating? So we started with local anesthetic. And I'm telling you that the calculation for when you're over 150 pounds and less is a little different. You get the smaller number, whatever that means. I think we can get that so far. Now, this is a table that I have that I summarize everything and also for you to memorize. And that's here in the top 150 drug booklets. Let me know if you guys have it or not. This is kind of a 24 page that has all the drugs on the in color code telling you like what the dental implication have. And then at the very end, you even have like the teeth eruption chart. So you can do a quick, you know, cheat when you have to, when the patient is in your chair. And here I have the summary of all of that. Plus I have medical emergencies here. But, you know, thanks for sharing with me if you have it or not. You know, my intention is not sell this to you. If the professor contacts me, I send this to you for free for all the schools. If the professor doesn't do it, you can go to StudentRDH and order one separately, but sorry, I have to charge you a little something because of that. Thank you, Claudia, for saying that this is the best. So, you know, if you can put me in touch with a faculty member, I need their permission to send this to you as a bulk. So, you know, if you have that, please work with me on that. Or otherwise you can find this at StudentRDH. So the whole point is that we can summarize this in this, and this is what I want you to really, really remember. But today we're about calculation. So let's continue our story about MRD and local anesthetic. So let's find actually an example here. So, you know, step one, we did that. Is a patient over 150% or under 50%, 150 pounds? And then here, you know, this patient, you know, is lighter than me because I told you, do you guys remember how much I weigh, right? You don't have to remember that actually, okay? So, you know, it was one. No, I do not. Okay, so anyhow, you know, this number is smaller than this number. So we're going to take any small number we get. Now, step 2 is this. Find the amount of local anesthetic in a cartridge. What? That goes back to what we talked about 10 minutes ago. Do you remember right here that I talked about how many milligrams there are in a cartridge? So you need to know that as well. So you need to do your calculation from the bottom, from scratch. So 2%, you know how to do the calculation now because we've done this together, and you arrive at the conclusion that there's 36 milligrams of local anesthetic. Okay, good clue. Now, the third step is understand how many cartridges you can give of local anesthetic. What is the max? What is the top? Well, you're just going to divide the MRD by the number of milligrams of local anesthetic there is in a cartridge. So this, if the patient is over 150 pounds, that's 500 divided by 36 at 13.8 cartridges. However, if the patient is under 150 pounds, that would be 8.9 cartridge. This is why, guys, it's really, really, really important to understand if the patient, you know, how much the patient weighs, because according to that, you will be able to understand kind of how much local anesthetic you can provide them. Okay, so in my case, I would be able to get about 9 cartridges, not 13 cartridges. Do we understand this calculation so far, guys? You can put it in the chat right now. I would like to know if you're following me. Thank you, Cunis, Christy. Anybody else? Okay, anybody has a question right now before we move on to the vasoconstrictor? Rebecca, Melinda, Claudia, Carmen. So many of you here today. Kaylee. Perfect. So I'm going to continue if you think you understand. That was, again, local anesthetic. But you know, guys, this is not it, right? What about the vasoconstrictor? We are not done. Our job is not completed yet. Vasoconstrictor is a different story. Remember I told you about the pizza and the pepperoni and the mushroom? So local anesthetic was the mushroom. Vasoconstrictor is the pizza. The pepperoni. And we can't just overload the pizza with pepperoni. Even if it's a pepperoni pizza, there's not just that. There's a cap. There's just like a nice ratio. If you have too many pepperonis, too spicy, it's too oily, so you kind of get the right ratio. That's what they're trying to do here as well within our local anesthetic. Sorry, I'm going to swing. Okay, by the way, guys, I do this all the time. Oh my God. Here. Thanks. But I have this band, $2 at the dollar store I bought, and you just do a lot of exercise like that, especially this one. So it opens up your chest, because when we're working at the computer, we're like that. With patients, we're like that. So this is awesome. You know, I would love to just do another session of helping you understand how to use this, because I'm also a yoga teacher. But anyhow, today's not about that, but take care of your health, okay? Okay, let's continue with vasoconstrictor. Vasoconstrictor is that thing that's added to vasoconstrict, meaning if your blood vessel is like that, you want to make it small. Why? Why? Number one reason is because actually a local anesthetic is a vasodilator, so it's going to make it actually even bigger. Local anesthetic is a vasodilator. But you know why it's not a good reason to have a big blood vessel, like when we are trying to work in dentistry? You can put it right here in our chat if you think you know, and you can just put a guess as well. You know, I'm not here to really just, point things at, okay, so we have Christy bleeding. That's awesome. Georgia as well. If it's big, we're working on this patient. Do we want a lot of bleeding? No, we want visibility, right? And also we have Amy says systemic absorption, right? If the blood vessel is big, you're gonna just absorb everything in there, the drug, and it's gonna go straight to your heart, to your head. The patient is gonna overdose really, really quickly. We have Jamie who said duration, that is perfect. We want the patient to have really nice direction so that when we inject the patient, we can work for an hour or two without having to re-inject, because if the patient had large blood vessel, it would not really stay here, it would just go everywhere. Does that make sense, guys? So that's why we don't want a huge blood vessel, but as I said, local anesthetic is a dilator. So we put this thing to counteract that, and we call that a vasoconstrictor. It's really simple, right? And to make this drug that makes it smaller is called epinephrine or levonorepinephrine. Now, epinephrine kind of lives in us already. And then levonorepinephrine is something that kind of, you know, is manufactured. Now, I want to, sorry. I want to point out at this. So epinephrine, you know, that's in our hormone already. It's like fight or flight. When we have an emergency, like right now, it's a bit of a crisis, right? We are constantly in the fight or flight mode. That's epinephrine. It gets us alarmed. Levonorepinephrine is the same thing, but I told you it's manufactured, it's synthetic, but it's a 7 times less potent compared to epinephrine. So you will see that when you put levonorepinephrine, you're gonna need a lot more because it's a lot more diluted. It's not as strong, concentrated as epinephrine. So going back here, now, you have MRD for vasoconstrictor. We had a friend here in the group saying, you know, it depends on the patient's health. And here it is. We need to think about not just how much the patient weighs, but also what's the health of the patient. Do they have a heart condition? Because if they do, we need to dramatically reduce the amount of vasoconstrictor we are using. So a healthy patient can use 0.2 milligram of epinephrine per appointment. Or that translates to 1 milligram of levonorepinephrine. Remember when I said here that it's about 7 times less potent? So as I said here, you know, 0.2 versus 1, I mean, that's multiplied by 5. But anyhow, the whole point is that you need more levonorepinephrine to achieve vasoconstriction. So our patient who is healthy needs 0.2. Well, no, does not need. The max is the patient who is not healthy is 0.04. You need to remember this as well, okay? If you had to jot down something, St. Clair said to remember those doses. Now, let's continue the story. That still does not give you enough clue about how many cartridges do you need, because at the end of the day, we have no time to do this math. We just need to know, I can give the patient 2 cartridges. If I give 4, is the patient going to overdose or not? That's the only thing you want to know, correct? All right, let's continue. So, whew, we're doing great, guys. Let's go back to the pizza. Basically, kind of what I see is like, you know, when you see vasoconstrictor, this is vasoconstrictor. 2%, that's how much local anesthetic there is. And this means vasoconstrictor, okay? So I wish, you know, when they taught us at dental hygiene school, local anesthetic, they started with things like that, saying, what does those number even mean? Because they get us into the lab. They don't really explain to us what this means, okay? So we have to understand that. So 1 to 100,000. That means, you know, and translate to, remember we said vasoconstrictor is pepperoni. So that's like 1 pepperoni in 100,000 square millimeter. I made this up, but I'm just trying to tell you this. That means that there's 1 pepperoni in this entire surface. That's basically what it means. There's like 1 in 100,000, but what again, you know? Remember 2%, like what does that mean? So remember, I'm going to do this again. That means 2 grams in what? 100 milliliter. This is the same thing. Let's do this. This is 1 gram in 100,000 milliliters. Same principle, okay? You dissect it, you put a gram after the first number, and you put an ml into the last number over here. 1 gram in 100 milliliter of solution. What does that even mean? So, you know, they put 1 gram, when, you know, when they make it like at the factory, they make it in bulk, right? They don't make it in this dose. They put 100 milliliter, 1000 millimeter of solution. Okay, that's 100 liter. And they put 1 gram. That's how little vasoconstrictor there is in there. But anyways, they put 1 gram. Okay, that still does not give me enough clue about how many cartridges can I use. So we're going to continue our story over here. We're going to do some math. Okay, so let's talk to 1 to 100,000, because you know, a lot of cases you guys use lidocaine, and that would be 1 to 100,000 concentration. So again, that means 1 gram per 100,000 milliliter. You guys follow me so far? Please say yes if you follow me. And if you don't, you say, I don't follow you, Claire. And then I'll be able to understand where I need to go. Okay, guys, Georgia, April, you guys are awesome. Junia, you're all saying you are following. Perfect. Now, this again, we are doing apple and oranges. It's not working, okay? We're like putting like tracksuit with heels. It does not work. You need to coordinate this whole thing, okay? So gram turns into milligram, right? At least you know it's 1,000, right? When you say M, that's mil, that's 1,000. So we have 1,000 milligram per milliliter, and you know how to delete the zeros, right? 3 out, 3 out, you are left with 1 milligram per 100 milliliter. That translates to, do you guys know how to do this though? Like from going from here to here? Do you know how to do that? And I want to see what you guys say. Regardless, I think I'm going to teach you anyways. All right, this is what I did when I was little. So I put a dot here. How many zeros do you see? How many zeros do you see over here? Guys, follow me in the group chat. How many zeros do you have here? 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, right? Okay, perfect. So I start in the back. I do not start in the front. I start in the back, okay? And I'm going to go, I'm going to jump 1, and I'm going to jump 2, and I'm going to put my dot right here. Now, in the empty space, you're going to put 0, 0, 0. Translate to 0.01 milligram per milliliter. You guys followed me? Okay, perfect. Just in case, a quick review. You put the dot at the very end after the 1, or whatever that number is, and you jump how many zeros they are. You put your dot here and you put a 0 in the front and 0 in the space. That's it. So this whole thing means that there's 0.01 milligram per milliliter. That's like so little, right? But that's very effective. I mean, you need that even though that's so little. Now we understand per milliliter is, again, is the cartridge with like 1 milliliter. And you know what? I guess I wish it was 1 millimeter so that our calculation is so much easier. I don't know why they do it in 1.7, 1.8. We should probably start a petition, right? Why do you make our life harder? Anyhow, so the next step is, what do you think the next step is? You know, it would be to understand what it actually means in terms of per cartridge. Remember, it was 1.8, 1.7 per cartridge, right? So I'm going to continue here. I use 1.8 because that's, you know, a more general number. I was here 100,000. And that was 1.01 milligram per millimeter. I'm going to just multiply it by 1.8. That gives me 0.018 milligram. There's how little there is in one cartridge. Do you guys follow me so far? I know this is very difficult, but I want to make sure you guys understand this is calculation for vasoconstrictor. This is not for a local anesthetic. We just calculated how much vasoconstrictor there is. If you follow me, please say yes. I know it's difficult. At least I'm recording this. You guys are awesome. Perfect. So we have this per cartridge. Now we have to compare this to this. You remember there's 0.018 milligram for that one cartridge of lidocaine that you gave the patient. That's 1 to 100. Now, What does that mean? Well, you know, you're already right here. Oh, no, sorry. No, you're not right here. I'm missing a 0. So let's say the 0.2, just to round it up. You know what? If you give 2 cartridges, we are reaching here our max, our MRD for a patient who has, let's say, a high blood pressure. Do you understand how that calculation works? This is the whole reason we're doing calculation, not because we want to make our life difficult, because we want to save patients. We do never want to overdose them. We can overdose them with vasoconstrictor. We can overdose them with local anesthetic. There are 2 things we need to be mindful of. There's not just one thing. A lot of times we might think we are overdosing with local anesthetic. That's not totally true. We can overdose them with too much epinephrine or levonorepinephrine. So this is why we're doing this. So let's go back to where we left off over here. So how many cartridges can you provide? Well, I just showed you, right? This is another example of 1 to 50,000 concentration. How would you do the math? So, you know, follow me. That was like 1 gram per 50,000 milliliter. I said apple, oranges. We don't like that. Unify them, please. So that's what, 1,000 per 50,000. 3 zeros out. So that equals 1 milligram per 50 milliliter. Are we happy here? No, what the hell does that mean? Give it to me in 1 milliliter. Okay, basically you're gonna divide the 1, you know, by 50. What I actually do is I make this 100, which makes my life easier. So 2 milligram per 100 milliliter. And then I'm going to do this trick. I'm going to put a 2 over here. I'm going to put a dot in the back, and I'm going to jump 1 0 2 0. I'm going to put the dot here. It gives me 0.02. No. Yes. Sorry. Yes. Okay. So I was just trying to show you the math here that I went in order to find this out. Okay. So I did that just using my hand. Now, again, that does not give me per cartridge, because if I had to calculate it per cartridge, I would multiply that. I think we understand this part. Woo! We're right here. Now, we ask ourselves, is the patient healthy? Does the patient have a cardiac condition? And we get their medical conditions right in the beginning. If they have any pacemaker, hypertension, even if it's elevated level, we do not overdose them, okay? But this patient, let's say, is healthy, so that's 0.2. So you divided this by this, and it gives you 5.5 cartridges. Versus if patient was having a cardiac condition, it would be 1 cartridges. That's what we want to get to at. One more thing I want to show you over here is that the higher number on the right side, the higher the dilation. So if you see over here, oops, no. So you have many different things like 1 to 20,000, 1 to 50,000, 1 to 100,000, 1 to 200,000. What did I say? The higher number on the right side, the higher the, can you fill in the gap? The higher number on the right side, the higher number, the higher is the, come on, I'm looking for a word here, guys. Is it more dilated, diluted, or is it more concentrated? More diluted it is, Huda. Daniel, thank you very much. Yvonne, the higher number on the right side again, the more the dilation, I don't even know how to say that, is more diluted. So in this case, just in general, this is more diluted than this one, right? So, you know, at the end, you know, you will understand the concept, but, you know, just memorize this. A big number on the right side means the tank was bigger when they made it, but they put the same 1 gram versus a smaller tub and they put 1 gram. Basically, that's it. So I think we understand how to calculate the MRD for vasoconstrictor. Now, this is not the end of the story, guys. The only problem here is this. Let me go to this calculation. What I'm going to do is, I don't have it here, but I'm going to do it by hand for you guys. Oh, it's here actually, right here. So generally, we use a lot of lidocaine 1 to 100. Here it is. And that is, you know, a healthy patient can get 11 cartridges. A patient with cardiac condition can get only 2 cartridges. I want to go back to many slides before. Do you guys remember this? When we did the MRD with local anesthetic, you know, we decided that if the patient was 150 pounds and more, you could give up to 13 cartridges. And in my case, because, you know, I am a little over 100 pounds, I would get about 9 cartridges. Let's keep that in mind and go back to this slide we just left. The vasoconstrictor says 11 cartridges. And here, you know, let's say 14 because it's 13.8 and then 9 cartridges because it was 8.9. Now, if you look at those numbers, let's say the patient is over 150 pounds. Which number are you going to use? How many cartridge is the MRD in this case? Is that 14? Is 11? Georgia, thank you. Daniel, thank you. It is 11. We use always the smaller number. Why would we risk our life and their life and give them more than the other MRD? So every time when you have a patient, you can't just think, how many cartridges can you give them according to the local anesthetic? You also have to think about MRD and be smart about, actually, I can only give them 11. Okay, this is the answer here for patients who are on over 150 pounds. Patients who are under 150 pounds, well, you just need to do the math because there's no quick way, you know, saying 130 versus, you know, 110. Although this gives me thinking, maybe I should make a chart, like a really comprehensive chart. Anyhow, in this case, my MRD for local anesthetic, what is my MRD? My MRD, what is it? If I was a patient, would I get 11 cartridges or 9 cartridges? 9, right? Kate, thank you. Karina, Carmen, Junia. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that the MRD, there's 2 factors, local anesthetic and vasoconstrictor. Sorry, guys. I'm getting hungry. So you have to decide which one it is, and it depends on the patient. I have no answer for you guys, but that's why you need to do the math to comprehend that. Does that make your life a little, you know, it's not easier, but do you understand the concept here? Does that help? Not just for the boards, but really just for everything you do in life. You just don't want to overdose them. And thanks for responding yes, everyone. And that's where, you know, this concept of limiting factor comes in. In this case, you know, 150 pounds top, the limiting factor was the vasoconstrictor. In this case, in my case, my limiting factor is the local anesthetic. So it depends. So those are very difficult concepts. And, you know, Malamud and all those textbooks are great. They're like really in-depth, but I don't think there's enough for us to paint us the big picture of actually what's happening. Now I'm going to get to this. Now this is again your chart here that I give you at StudentRDH. Here on one side, there's local anesthetic. Okay, we looked at the MRD over here. There's local anesthetic MRD here using vasoconstrictor as well. So I already did the math for you guys, so you don't have to do that in front of the patient. So basically what it is, like, if you look at this chart and you say, I'm going to use epinephrine like 1 to 20,000 because that's all I have in my clinic, for example. And you have a healthy patient, I can give them up to 22 cartridges. Okay, it's a healthy patient, but then you're going to compare this with, let me go back to this other chart. You're going to compare this with this. So that was 200, that 1 to 200,000, right? Let's say it was Articaine. Articaine and 1 to 200,000. Okay, so they're like, what? There's no MRD here. So then you can go back to the chart and say, it's 22 cartridges. Okay, or you can say, let's say you give bupivacaine. Over there, according to the vasoconstrictor, you can give 22 cartridges, but here you can only give them 10 cartridges. So guys, are you gonna give them 10 or 22, right? What is the max in this scenario? Right, 10, exactly, right? But you know, one thing here that we have to do with Articaine is that because it didn't give us one, you know, the MRD according to how much the patient weighs fit over 150,000, you have to do the math according here. So let's say it was 3.2, you know, you have to understand how much that means translating to, in case, my case, let's round it up to 110 pounds, okay? And you will get the math. So 4%, and you know, it's, I'll just do it quick. It's actually 72 milligram per milliliter. Translate that into, it's actually here. Translate that into, sorry, I lost my thought when I was trying to find this. Yeah, anyways, translate it to 1.8 cartridges. What is that? So I'm going to do 72 multiplied by 1.8. That gives me 130. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. I made a mistake here, guys. I meant to say there's actually 72 in, no, sorry, scratch that. There's 72, I just memorized those numbers, 72 milligram per cartridges already. Okay, so there's 72 per cartridges. Now I am at, you know, 110 pounds. So I'm allowed 3.2 per pound. So I'm gonna do 110 multiplied by 3.2, that gives me 352. I'm going to divide that by 72, and then that gives me about 5 cartridges. So what I'm trying to get here to is that if I use 5 cartridges versus, remember the other Articaine that was, let's say I used, sorry, I'm trying to just get the light going for a second. Okay, here we go. 1 to 200,000. You know, and it gives me 22. What do you think I'm going to use, right? Obviously not 22. So there is some math that we can do now. You know how to do that. And I already did the calculation as well for you when it comes to cardiovascular disease patients. So again, you know, I'm not here to sell you this. This is really a resource that I provide for the students for free, but the school needs to be in contact with me. You know, just to get their permission or not. You can find this at StudentRDH.com. I need to charge you a small fee for the printing and the shipping, guys. But anyhow, we did today all the calculation you needed. That included how many milligram are there in a cartridge. That included the MRD for local anesthetic, and that including the MRD for the vasoconstrictor. There are 3 basic, you know, the very big categories of calculation we have done in 1 hour. That was a whole lot, guys. Now I can take some questions. And you might not have questions yet because that was a lot of information, right? So you can always email me. You guys know what my email is. Anybody want to put it in the chat what my email is here? Kimi K, you know, I love that you're saying thank you. I thank you for being here, guys. This is just, I can't believe how students are motivated to take an extra webinar that's not even, in the curriculum, just to be better in what you guys are doing, just to pass the board examination, to be able to start. And I know this has been delayed. Like your career has been delayed a little bit. Okay, guys, let's look at the big picture. A few months is not going to change our life. It's actually only going to make us stronger, because if we come out of this being in good spirit, you guys know can do anything, right? April, thanks for saying clairej@studentrdh.com. That's exactly my email. So hopefully my recording worked, okay? And then I'll be able to have that available for you just for a short period of time. I'm going to do more of those webinars if you guys want. I really want to be a support right now when your school is, in crisis, when your board's in a crisis. I just want to do the best that I can. Okay, Georgia is saying, question, in school we were told to, to round down on the cartridge just in case we do not overdose. And I see. Do you want to round up or round down? I would round down as well. I would agree with you, actually. Okay. But in my case as StudentRDH, what I've done, if it's 13.8, like I just said, like 14, because it's so close to 14 in that case. But I totally understand what you're saying, Georgia. So you round it down so you do not overdose the patient. And you know what, guys? Don't worry too much about like the exact 156 or things like that. I really want you to know the calculation for your own sake, to be able to be knowledgeable. But for the board examination, I will tell you that you honestly need to know how many cartridges. You just need to go straight to most of the time, sometimes they will ask you milligrams, but it really needs to translate into cartridges for you. Michelle saying, thank you for your time, StudentRDH. I'm taking a course at through university, and your report information is presented in such a clear way to learn. I've been a hygienist for almost 30 years. Oh my God. And now just taking the LA boards. Wow, Michelle. Wow. Awesome that you've been a hygienist for 30 years. Actually way more than I've been a hygienist. So, applause for you for that, being in the profession. And now, challenging yourself for taking the LA boards. Michelle, can you tell us where you are from? Yeah, I want to understand, are you in the East Coast and the West Coast, what kind of boards you're taking? And guys, you can see most of us here in the chat are students right now. And if you can see Michelle, she's continuing her education while she is, working. So, that's something we all have to do. And that's a great example. And thank you for sharing that as well. And Michelle lives in Boy, but just moved to Tampa. So depending on where you are, you might need to move your license as well. That might include sometimes taking the boards again, because they might take what you have taken, the WREB and versus the CDCA and all of this. So, make sure you always keep updating. Thank you so much for, again, telling us that, Michelle. And, if you feel like this can be useful within your school setting, if you feel like this could be useful, please put me in touch with your faculty member. I do not charge anything for doing webinars like this. I just really want you guys to be successful. So let me know how I can help as well. Any more questions today? We are 1 hour. Okay. April say, I will be taking my boards at the end of year, maybe at the very first year of next year. Okay, I want to get a head start. Wow. Well, the information changed. Ooh. And you suggest that I purchase now. Okay, I'll be very honest, April. Probably won't change because there's not many changes in local anesthetic, or there's actually none. Hasn't, some names might change. But most likely, I would say 99.9%, there will be no change. And if you're asking, should I purchase now, does that mean local anesthetic, or does that mean the NBDHE or NDHCE? Because I would say for local anesthesia, like I feel like you could wait a little bit more, okay? Just because local anesthesia is like such a small portion of like our boards. Because if you think about the national boards, and anybody here have taken their national boards here or will take their national boards and kind of understand how comprehensive it is, right? And yes, Jamie, they're implementing new staging and grading for perio. Totally, sorry. Maybe I wasn't clear. Local anesthesia will not change. There's not much going on in that world. However, the NBDHE, the NDHCE will change, okay? So I'm being updated all the time about what they're gonna do, staging and grading. We are creating video content right now for you guys, but we haven't put them up there yet because that's gonna be released only in September, October, November timeline for the national board. So I don't wanna confuse you guys now. That's why we don't have it yet for you as a video, okay? So just to round your question, April, if you're thinking of the national boards, it's a good thinking to start early because you can also use that for your school examinations, okay? And I can give you an extension until you pass the examination, okay? Ooh, Myra is taking the boards in April 22nd, Maria as well, guys. I don't even need to cross my fingers because I know you guys are gonna do well, but if you need some support, you have to email me before that, okay? Don't wait until the last moment to understand what I can do for you, okay? You know, if you don't have StudentRDH yet, please check it out. Actually, I don't know if you guys have the success package. Do you guys have the success package? You know, the success package comes with a book. What I really want you to guys do when you use StudentRDH success package is actually this. If you see this, this is probably, you know, I'm just looking from my screen. This is a chapter of medical conditions. I am trying to just see. And if you see the very beginning, like of each item, there's a little check mark. And this check mark serves as a to-do list. So you say, I know this, I know this, I don't know this. So maybe you put a star here, maybe you can highlight this. You say, I know this as well. This is how you use StudentRDH book. We have seen a lot of success, okay, so with students who have been using the book in this manner. This is for the success package. If you have the basic package, you can still order this separately. You just email me, I'll let you know how that works. But all I'm trying to say, guys, is good luck. I don't need you to wish you luck because I know you're going to do great, okay? It's not luck, it is your ability. You have it in you already. So thanks for sharing, Karina, that you love the book. You're going to do well, guys, okay? Maria, and we had, who else we had taking it on April? Forgot Myra, okay? You guys email me when that's done. I just really hope to see a past result and you guys all be happy. Okay, so, you know, I am thankful for you guys again here. Thanks for sharing, Michelle, that you really like StudentRDH as well. And Shakila, Pamela, if I haven't been able to call out your name, thank you for being here. It means a lot to me knowing that you're doing your best. And I just hope to provide all the support that I can for not just local anesthesia, but also for the board's review. That's my job, guys. I'm a hygienist. I was in your shoes about 7 years ago. I have a lot of education background. I used to work at the Children's Museum. I made so many curriculums. You know, I was the education director at the National Museum of Art. So education is my thing. So I'm always here to help. All right, I'm gonna leave you guys. It's Wednesday late. I just wish you are in good spirit, okay? Jamie, thanks for sharing your Instagram because sometimes it's hard to see, you know, your name here in Zoom, your name in Instagram, and sometimes I'm like, what's your real name? But sometimes students think, you know, it's like, you know, so anyhow, thanks for clarifying that. Okay, yeah, and you know, if you want to find StudentRDH, it's literally StudentRDH on Instagram, on Facebook. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you here. You guys have been awesome today. Contact me if you want to put me in touch with your school. You know, anything that you can, just, I'm here, especially in this difficult time. You're going to hear more from me, more emails, more lectures, because, you know, we just need to do our best while we at home, right? Quarantine time is killing me. It's killing me. That's why I have like this crazy thing going on. I can't go to the gym. Like, I'm just going a little nuts over here. All right, so see you next time. I will give you a link. When I finish this, it's supposed to be recording on my computer. I'm going to give you a link of where you can find it. It's going to live for you to review for another week or two. Okay. Thanks for asking me that. And have a great evening. Bye, guys. Get up!